The flu will cost the country over $10 billion in medical expenses, more than $16 billion in lost economic activity. But this is no average strain this year. With optimism over the start of the new earnings season later this week, investors today sent the Dow soaring 102 points higher, and with bank stocks leading all gainers. The Nasdaq was up 6. Both closed at fresh record highs, though. Shares of Boeing soaring to a new record high after delivering more new aircraft than ever before last year, 763 planes. Target posted better than forecast sales growth over the holidays, both in-store and online. Nordstrom's overall holiday sales rose mostly because of its Nordstrom Rack off-price stores. And Toyota and Mazda expected to build a $1.5 billion plant in Alabama. CNBC.
It's time for some straight talk. You have their unlimited plan. So why do you keep running out of high-speed data? Never run out again with Straight Talk's new Ultimate Unlimited plan. Get all the 4G LTE data you want, all high speed, and all for just $55 a month on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks, only from Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
Video typically streams at DVD quality. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The wicked winter weather in Southern California is turning more deadly. At least 8 people have lost their lives due to today's major rainstorm in the upscale community of Montecito in Santa Barbara County. Homes were knocked off their foundations by a waist-high mudslide, and at least 25 people are reported injured. Santa Barbara County Fire Department Captain Dave Zanaboni said his agency was performing multiple rescues, and there will be more people pulled from the mud. Meeting with Republicans and Democrats at the White House today, President Trump said he wants funding for a massive border wall and an end to chain migration and visa lotteries.
We need a wall. We have to close enforcement loopholes, give immigration officers the equipment they need.
Trump also argued that U.S. immigration should be based on merit. Democrats want protections for Dreamers under DACA. The Dreamers are young immigrants who were brought into the U.S. illegally as children. Senator Dianne Feinstein is releasing hours of testimony on the so-called Trump-Russia dossier. Tom Roberts has details.
The closed-door testimony featured Glenn Simpson, head of the research firm Fusion GPS. The firm's opposition research on Donald Trump has become a key part of the investigation of Russian meddling in the presidential campaign. Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley had refused to publicly release the Simpson transcripts. The Iowa Republican recently issued a criminal referral to the Justice Department for Fusion GPS investigator Christopher Steele. Grassley suggested that Steele lied to federal investigators. Tom Roberts, NBC News Radio.
Mexico's exporting of vehicles to the U.S. is at an all-time high. The Mexican auto industry disclosed that it exported just over 2.3 million vehicles to the U.S. in 2017, despite campaign threats from President Trump to impose border taxes on vehicles assembled outside the U.S. GM's Mexican imports surged by 26%, and Chrysler's boomed by nearly 36%. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
What if I told you you'd never have to make a house payment again? What if you could pay off much-needed home repairs and even create an income stream based on the value of your home? If you're 62 years old or older, you could be eligible for a reverse mortgage. Call Tim Harrison and find out if a reverse mortgage is right for you. Call Tim at 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475. Tim Harrison, branch manager, NMLS number 170960. Broadview Mortgage Corporation is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. License number 170952. Registered with the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System and registry number 813B544. Broadview Mortgage, equal housing lender. Remember, if you never want to make a house payment again, except for property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, that's 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
This is Dick from Carpet Masters. Carpet Masters has been serving the Inland Empire for over 60 years. We are locally owned and operated by the Stevens family. We not only clean carpet and furniture, we clean many loose rugs, including Oriental rugs. Oriental rugs are cleaned in our modern facility where the fringes are cleaned by hand, then hung in our modern facility to dry. We do not use steam cleaning to clean your fine furniture. Furniture is cleaned by hand using the same absorption cleaning used in the White House. Some furniture we bring into our plant to clean properly. We normally use 2 men on each cleaning job using the extraction method. There is nothing that will clean carpet better for our customers. Our job is to clean properly with quality first. Google Carpet Masters San Bernardino and give us a call, or go to carpetmasterssocal.com.
KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station, where your business comes first.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Right before me, my newfound hippie side. Once ignored these conspiracies online. Out the window, visions of the earth. Sign me up now, make sure you use your smart. Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Would your children ride to see Mother Nature's side?
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk Radio Show. We are so glad that you are listening to us, and we hope that you're going to stay listening to us because we have an hour packed full of information. And if you have never listened to Smart Health Talk, then you know that we are here for you. I'm your host, Elaine McFadden. I'm a registered dietitian with a master's in public health, and it is my job to take care of you, and that's what I'm here for. I'm your own personal dietitian with information that could save your life. That's what we're all about, saving lives, because you know what? There is no better feeling. And when I reconnected with someone today that I haven't talked to in like 2.5 years and found out that he had used massage and acupuncture and different non-invasive treatments to get rid of his chronic back pain, which he was in pain all the time. And those of you that were listening to our show are past listeners, and thank you so much for listening to Smart Health Talk. We have talked about pain. I actually dealt with pain last week. There are people that have pain that, yes, you know, before surgery, that kind of thing, but we have got this thing with pain where I think, you know, we're becoming a bunch of wimps. People can't even take a little pain without taking a pill. And I was saying I embrace pain. I had both my kids at home with a midwife, no drugs. And I want other women to experience what I experienced, because that pain that I had, I actually cherish that pain as one of my most important memories. Because it's actually, you can deal with it. And your body makes your own drugs, so you get to feel, you know, the cool drugs that your own body can make, and you get to experience the whole thing. They make us out like women. Oh, we need an epidural, you know, like we're so weak. I'm really tired of seeing women portrayed like that. And we are strong. We have been taking childbirth without drugs for a long time. And we can still do it. And people think, oh, well, you know, like that's a luxury, you know, that I get drugs. Well, I didn't want my baby to be born on drugs, because the drugs go into the baby's system as well. And I think I made the right decision. I cherish my memory. And just about healing ourselves and really getting getting in there and getting to our pain, finding the source of our pain instead of just covering it up all the time. So, you know, we are here for you, and there are so many different things that are trying to attack our health right now. Pesticides, up there at the top of the list. And pesticides and GMOs go hand in hand. Gosh, it's pouring rain here, and I think I got some water in my eye. I hope I didn't get the mascara down under my eye here. Anyway, you know, pesticides are something we have to deal with. We don't need them. I have been in contact with local school districts here, the Loma Linda Academy, the Redlands School District. I have reports on what pesticides that they're using. And I'm going to post those on our website for everyone so you can see. And we need to all work together. This is not a blame game. This is how we can work together to eliminate these unnecessary poisons that our kids are being exposed to, and use alternatives, because there are alternatives. We don't need to use any of these. We can be pesticide free. Don't we want pesticide free? And I'll tell you the big problem. They passed a law January 1st that says farms, there's new rules for farms that are close to schools, and we have farms right across the street from schools that are spraying some of the worst pesticides of all. These are hormone disruptors that can actually interfere with the puberty cycle and make it hard for our children to have babies later in life. We don't want that for them. So let's stand up and fight and stop our children from being exposed to these pesticides, and let's stop the use of them altogether, and let's all learn how to live without them. Okay, well, we have someone that is going to be our guest today that is knows all about this, because they run an organic farm, organic dairy, excuse me. They have dairy, cows, and they also raise chickens, and they sell to Costco, Whole Foods, and Rumiano cheese, and they're about ready to come out with their own brand of dairy that we're very excited to hear about. But first of all, I just want to know, what is it like to live and grow up on an organic dairy farm? And I'm so anxious to talk to Stephanie Alexandri from their family farm in Northern California. Is she there, Brandon?
Yes.
Hey, Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm over here like dying with my mascara. Why don't you go ahead and start telling everyone about what your farm is like and all about your farm, and give me a chance to go clean up the mess I had from the rain getting in my eye on the way here. I'll let you just kind of take the floor here, and you can help me out.
Will do. I have no problem. I do have an echo, though, and I'm going to see if I can reduce the volume here, and maybe that will eliminate the echo a little bit. Can you hear me still? We live on the very north coast of California, right on the California-Oregon border, and we can hear the waves of the ocean right from our bedroom windows. And so we live in this microclimate. It's almost like the Ireland of California. And all around us, it's green grass, and it's always green grass. We are blessed with a lot of wildlife on our farm. We are what's called grass-based organic dairy farmers. And I was born and raised in the Inland Empire, close to where you are, Elaine, and grew up on a farm in Chino, California. And I always prayed I'd marry a dairy farmer. Then 30 years ago, my husband and I got married, and he was from this region of California, and we moved to where his family dairies and live in Del Norte and Humboldt County. And we have raised 5 children, and they are all adults now, and they just desire to be a part of the farm as well. And we have been organic for almost 20 years, and part of when we went organic, it was learning how to be organic dairy farmers. How did we do it back, or how did our great-grandfathers do it? How did they raise calves? How did things that we just weren't quite ready to do because we were so used to going conventional methods when a calf was sick. And we traveled a lot as a family, went to the Midwest to Acres USA conference, went to Eco Farm, just started learning from other farmers, and the organic dairy industry really got its boost in the Midwest with the help of Organic Valley. So we got to meet some really neat consultants and dairy farmers and veterinarians that were helping dairy farmers, and really loved learning what we were learning. And most importantly about all that was we tell people that we actually went organic as a business decision, but then when we started going to these conferences, the keynote speakers of these conferences were doctors who were making a difference in people's lives by teaching them to go to the farm, not the pharmacy, to get healthy and to eat nutrient-dense foods. So then it just became so meaningful to be farmers, even more so when it became purposeful, and it's about nutrient-dense foods. And my husband's main hobby really became the soils, and I kept reading books about nutrition and raising our kids healthier and feeding them nutrient-dense foods and how to make bone broth soups and making yogurt and kefir on the kitchen side. And my husband was also reading more about soils and soil biology and everything on the animal sides, because it really starts in the dirt. It starts in the soil to grow that green, nutrient-dense grass that the cows eat, and then they in turn produce just the best milk ever.
Well, there's an echo. Okay, can you get that? Okay, sounds better. Okay, all those things are music to my ears, Stephanie. I mean, I wish I could clone you, okay? Or we could just get you training our moms all across the country, because you're doing all the right things. Those are all the things, nutrient-dense foods. I love that you use those terms, because in my mind, that, we can only get so many calories per day, and we have a huge obesity problem in this country. And people are eating empty calories, and I really think their bodies are starved of nutrition. And when you talk nutrient-dense foods, these fast foods do not qualify, okay? Just to let everyone know, that is not under the nutrient-dense category. The foods that she mentioned, kefir is, well, why don't you tell about kefir, Stephanie? Why did you start making kefir? What was it about it that made you do that work to actually, and it's not really that hard, everyone, but
the kefir, they're called kefir grains, which really is a symbiotic relationship between the yeast and the fungus that creates this curd, and that curd ferments on the lactose, the milk sugar, and it's a fermented drink. And when I started learning what the most strongest, healthiest probiotic there is, it's really kefir made from milk. You can take pasteurized milk and really bring life back into it. For those people who have lactose intolerant problems, it digests the lactose for you, so people can drink kefir and really build their gut flora back to health again. And I got my kefir grains probably in 2002 or 3 and still have the same grains. They just multiply. So of course you share with friends, and we also make kefir for our chickens or for our calves. It's just a beautiful probiotic. And when I said we didn't know how to be organic farmers, really it's about prevention and building the gut. And just as it is in the soil for the ground, it's the gut bacteria and the health of the body that is started from the gut. And kefir is a great way to kickstart that.
I can't, you give that to your animals too. I mean, this is like for those of you that are listening that aren't familiar with conventional farming practices, their go-to is usually antibiotics, and we have a farmer here that is using probiotics to keep their animals healthy, so they nourish their gut, so there's no need for a drug that is actually wiping out all of their gut bacteria and then leaves them open to getting sick again, right? I mean, you're the dairy farmer, not me.
And I think as a farmer, and I know with our children too, if somebody's sick, what's the immediate solution? But then what would prevent this in the first place? And from an organic perspective, like we do garlic tinctures that we make, and arnica tincture and echinacea tinctures, all these tinctures, those are solutions, but really it's got to be what is the prevention, and the prevention is the gut. and keeping that gut healthy, keeping that gut on the right track. It's the same with kids as it is with baby calves or baby chicks. It's all, let's start in the gut, and then they just take off to a healthy life.
And do you grow some of those things yourself, like the echinacea, and kind of make these solutions yourself?
I do make the solutions myself, the tinctures, and however, I do buy them online at like Frontier Organics. And,
oh yeah, Frontier is great.
Yes, yes. So I have different sources where I buy like elderberry to make the elderberry tinctures, things like that we give our animals. And we also take ourselves if during the flu season or you feel that little sore throat coming, and we'll just take our tinctures ourselves.
Well, just everyone, if you're not familiar with Frontier Co-op, if you go and find them, you'll find their products on shelves in different stores that sell organic. But they actually, you can form your own co-op. You can sign up to get their products for wholesale, which you probably do, and people can actually form their own co-op and get products in bulk from Frontier for your group, and then you can get it cheaper and then share it between other people if everyone doesn't want one big bag. You know, it's really a cool thing that you can get people having, because so many people say, well, I can't afford organic. But when you sign up for a Frontier co-op to get it wholesale, and then get your friends all pitching in where you buy bulk and then you can share it with each other, you're going to get it way cheaper. Don't you think that's a good tip, Stephanie?
Yes, that's an excellent tip.
Okay, because I want to help people have access to organic food, and they just don't know knowing these little ins and outs of how to really save money can make all the difference, and buying in bulk is definitely where it's at. So I love the fact that you're using all these different things. I'm just going to share one little one that I learned from reading about a farmer. Those big giant bales of hay those giant rolls that they make, he actually gets these giant containers of apple cider vinegar, and he pours it in the middle of the hay bale. And then when the cows eat it, I guess it really helps keep his cows healthy and helps their gut. Because a lot of people know apple cider vinegar is good if you can get it down, right?
Yes.
But anyway, that was like another. But see, we're hearing like all these different approaches to running a dairy that totally avoids the need for all of these things that we don't want to be giving the animals, because they can create antibiotic resistance, of which is a huge problem right now, that we're actually creating this antibiotic resistance with all of the antibiotic use. And that is why farms like it's Alexandria, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, the Alexandria family farm, they're going out of their way to not use any of these things. And I don't know about you, but that's the people I want feeding me, number one. And that's the people I want to give my dollars to, because they're doing all the right things. They're creating food. Oh, I want you to do that quote. Your husband, tell them about your husband and the conference he was just at yesterday, Stephanie, and those great quotes that he had.
Oh, I read them online because you actually found it.
Oh, yeah, but go ahead. Just the concept that you guys have, the philosophy of your farm.
He's at the American Farm Bureau convention that's in Nashville, and he's actually flying home today. But he was speaking yesterday on organic agriculture and the struggles with organic. And basically, he is saying the same thing I've already said, that it really starts in the soil, and it's taking care of what we have in the land. And we are stewards of what we've been given by God, and blessed to take care of it and leave it better than we found it. And it's about trying to provide better surroundings, better things for our community, healthier waters and air and soils and jobs. And that's what we're trying to build in our little world here on the North Coast in California.
And you raised how many kids on that farm?
4 of them are completed with college and back into the business. They absolutely loved living right across the street from the milk barn and where we raise our calves, and they say that was just pivotal for them, that they were able to always be around mom and dad, farm, and we recently do book work as opposed to being with the cattle anymore. But they just love it, and they all desire to come back to the farm after they graduate from college.
You know how many parents wish that their kids would come back and join the family business, and they can never talk them into it? And yet you're running a dairy, which is very labor intensive. You would think, oh, my kids aren't going to want to work on a farm, but there can be so much pleasure in what you do to be a farmer. It's one of my goals to try to inspire other people to take up organic farming and to be a local organic farmer that's supplying people locally with food, so we can get the freshest and the best and support our other families locally, help each other. This is something that you guys do all the time, and it's totally possible. I mean, you're showing that this is something that can be done, but you guys have actually been using this technique for a long time on how you raise your cows.
Yes, and the kids just are overjoyed to be doing it and a part of it, and they love talking about it. If somebody calls and they want a tour, I can ask any one of the kids if they would give the tour, and the feedback from the person who just had the tour was just like, wow, you can really tell your kids love what they do, and that to me is just a great reward.
And what do they say about your farm, Stephanie?
It's God's country. It's heaven.
God's country. It's heaven. How would you like to live in heaven, everyone? Right here on Earth, okay? You can have an organic farm.
Not only with our cows, and then the pastured poultry, organic chickens on pastured poultry, but we also have a wild, about 200 Roosevelt elk living on our farm. We have salmon that go through our streams, our fenced riparian areas, and we have a bald eagle's nest that has been here since our youngest was in 2nd grade. We discovered it, and that was 11 years ago now. And so it's
live cam.
See all the wildlife that is benefiting from our style of management. I tell a story of, it's raining down in Southern California right now. We had rain earlier today too. One evening I was driving to town, and as I was driving out of our driveway and along our ranch, I would see all these frogs jump in my headlights as I'm driving. They've done that for a lot of years, but then it dawned on me as I left our property line, there were no more frogs. And it really told me that life really flourishes on our green grass, the way our cows through that.
We missed just that last thing that you said. Could you try again? Because the weather, I think, is not our friend right now.
Did you hear my frog story?
I heard that you said that you weren't seeing as many frogs.
So as soon as we left our property line, we noticed there were no more frogs jumping in front of our lights. And it made me realize that it was our management of our soils and our grasses that created this environment that a lot of frogs even live on our land. And as soon as we get into other styles of management where the grass isn't green or it's overgrazed or it's conventional, you don't see the frogs anymore. And we see those when we drive in the evening on a rainstorm. And for some reason, they jump in front of the lights.
Well, amphibians are one of the most susceptible creatures to pesticides, and that's why when people spray and then the sprinkler runoff goes into the gutter, all that water ends up in our rivers and then in our ocean, and along that way, it's all these amphibians are being exposed to it, and they just can't survive these pesticides. They kill them. And this is the story that Stephanie just told us, is because the other surrounding areas are using pesticides, and plus they're not using the same sustainable techniques that they're using that's actually regenerating the land and making it better and better and better every year. Have you guys noticed that your farm just keeps getting better?
Yes. Yes, just deeper green and more varieties of plants and less weeds, just all the above. It definitely flourishes with life.
Well, I just want to kind of weave a few things in here as we talk, because I wanted to have your opinion on this as well, because I had gotten information about what local schools are spraying, and our Redlands School District here, everyone, if your child goes to school there, they sprayed. When I talked to the safety person, maybe you can kind of help me with this too, because it's my understanding that something like Roundup, which is now on the Prop 65 cancer-causing list, that it's an herbicide which kills weeds, but the name pesticide and herbicide can be interchangeable with some things like Roundup because it kills everything. It kills pests too. So people also do call it a pesticide, but the school district kept saying, we don't spray any pesticides, and yet I had their PDF up on my computer, and the list of approved pesticides is all they had. They didn't have herbicides, pesticides. All they had was, this is the pesticides that we've approved. 2,4-D was on there, which is Ancient Orange. This doesn't have the dioxin in it that they had for Vietnam, but trust me, these things are hormone disruptors. They're interfering with the puberty cycle of our students. Like I said earlier, I'm sorry for those that just tuned in. I had to repeat that. And plus, people sometimes don't hear it unless you say it multiple times. Hormone disruptors. We have infertility clinics popping up all over the place. And I'll tell you, Stephanie was not infertile. She had like... she didn't have any infertility problems, everyone, okay? She had multiple children. But there's people out there that can't have kids, and there is a reason. And we are sentencing our children to a life where they cannot have their own children because we're exposing them during their puberty cycle to these pesticides with farms right across the street. And I have the lists from the Department of Agriculture. I've looked these pesticides up. There's some of the worst of the worst. And I am going to be posting this PDF that says the spraying schedule and they sprayed a lot in, the Loma Linda Academy is using some of the worst too. And they spray a lot during January. They were pretty surprised that I had the information that I had. They don't realize that the person that I talked to didn't realize they have to report the use of pesticides to the Department of Agriculture, and that information is accessible to us. But anyway, we have to start in our own communities, and we have to start fighting for our children. And people like Stephanie and her family that run this farm, this is not an easy thing. You know, they have to go through and make a lot of sacrifices and maybe do a little bit extra, but apparently it's so rewarding that you don't mind that extra work, Stephanie.
No, and when you mention the pesticides and things, that's one thing about organic, healthy animal fats, is that the fats are the protection in the animal, and they're going to, when we eat those fats, that's where you will see the higher levels of the hormone or the pesticides. And so it's so important to eat organic, healthy fats. And that's one of the reasons you see women get breast cancer, is because the problems, the chemicals end up in the breast, the fat of the woman, the mammal. And the same thing goes for animals as well. And so when I said when we went organic 20 years ago and my hobby became reading about nutrition, it was realizing the purpose of being an organic farmer is this clean, nutrient-dense fat that is chemical-free, that's hormone-free, and that is what's going to raise healthy children. So voting with your dollar to get those healthy fats into your children's diet is so important, and that's why organic whole milk is so crucial in the diet.
And Dr. Benbrook, he talked to Charles Benbrook. You can look it up, Benbrook. He did a study that organic whole milk was better than conventional skim milk. And skim milk is just a big lie that has been used for the dairy industry to steal the fat and then resell it as butter and cream. And that's how they make more money. And the skim milk, that is you know, and like when I was listening to you, Stephanie, I thought there are people out there that in their mind, as soon as they hear fat, they just like, you know, get this like wall or this red flag, you know, like I'm not going to eat any fat. You know, I don't want to eat a bunch of fat. Because we went through this whole phase trying to brainwash people in these non-fat diets, which they just substituted sugar, which was even worse. But what you're talking about, the fact that these pesticides, hormones, are stored in the fat tissue is one of the most important aspects of the differences between organic and conventional meat. And I just want to add to that I did research for HIV, and the first drugs that they came out with were creating fat deposits behind people's necks and weird places on their body that it had never shown up before. It was not normal for a human to have fat in that place and these big giant fat deposits. Well, when we look at people's bodies now, compared to how they were, you know, like even like 100 years ago, you don't see bathing beauties from the 20s with weird fat in their stomach or cellulite, and they were not hitting the gym for a couple hours, you know, a day either. They were just like that. And the fact that we're being exposed to these hormones and pesticide, I believe having to stick that away in the fat to keep it from circulating is causing these like weird abnormal fat deposits. What do you think about that? Oh, I just want to add that fat our brain is a big blob of fat. And the kind of fats that you get from the Alexandria farm, the conjugated linolenic acid fats, the CLAs, these are critical for brain development. And you have to have these fats. Fat is essential. It is part of our cells. It's part of our brain. And if you're not getting it, if you're not getting omega-3s, your body substitutes a lower quality fat. And so then it's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole as your brain is trying to work. And when you don't have those omega-3s, your brain is not functioning at top capacity. And your products are just full of all those great omega-3s, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And our butter and our milk has a yellow hue to it, and our egg yolks are deep orange like orange juice because of the grasses the cows are eating. So you're right about the CLAs. They're a higher ratio in a product like ours where the cows are always on green grass 365 days a year, and as opposed to products that don't have access to the pasture grasses.
Yes, and Stephanie's referring to like conventional farms, factory farms. You may have driven down some highways and saw like places where the cows are like all packed in. And tell them your website, because I want them, you can go look at our Facebook page, everyone, Smart Health Talk. We have a picture of the family at their farm there. But you can also go to their website, and I really want you to go there and check out their products. And you got to go back in another week, because that's when your new products are being released, right, Stephanie? Next week, you got the launch of your new product line?
Yes, we have launched in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and we are actually talking to buyers today in Southern California. Our website is Alexandre, that's Alexander and then R-E, familyfarm.com, and we're getting ready to launch a new website, but that is the website. And we're excited about our nutrient-dense dairy products, 6% whole milk. And then if the goodness and flavor is in the whole milk, then we created flavored milks like ginger turmeric, chocolate, vanilla, and caramel, and they have less sugar than anyone else because it's about the good nutrient-dense foods of the fat. It's the butter fat and the flavors there that you don't need a lot of sugar to make it taste so good when you just add some flavoring. That's organic, rich flavoring, of course.
Hey, I'm going to predict that those products are going to be a really hot item.
We're hoping so. We're betting the farm on it.
You know, and just the fact that you guys are putting yourself out there, you know, and taking risk and trying to create these new innovative products that make people want to get back to drinking milk again. The fact that all these people are turning to soy milk and almond milk is like driving me insane, because I just want to explain to people why, because you should be buying Stephanie's milk, that kind of a milk, or you know, that kind of quality milk from a different source. But you know, when you have first of all, if it's not organic, I guarantee it's GMO and it's full of glyphosate. So
and the consumers need to be looking for non-homogenized, so the cream's still on top. Homogenization, I believe, is part of the issue that people have with dairy. It causes kind of the inflammation. It's not a natural thing that should happen to fats to be homogenized. So when it's non-homogenized, that means it's still the cream on top, and you have to shake the jar or the bottle every time you use it, which is how we grew up on milk, was non-homogenized. And that's a good old-fashioned way to drink milk. Our milk is also what's called vat pasteurized, so it's a soft pasteurization, so it only has an 18-day shelf life, but it still has life in it. When you're buying something that's ultra pasteurized, it's kind of like it's ultra dead. It's going to have a long shelf life, and you'll be happy it sits in your refrigerator forever, but that food doesn't have life in it, and we want to eat food that spoils. We just want to eat it before it spoils.
So what do you guys do to your milk? Anything?
Personally, we drink raw milk at our household, and which I'm just love raw milk. But our milk is vat pasteurized. That will be for sale. It's just too scary with the environment we live in, and people have sterile guts, and a little bacteria can really harm somebody. So I would be fearful to do raw milk as a business at this point, but maybe down the road we will figure something out and have something in the raw world. But for now, it's vat pasteurized, which is 155 degrees, and held for a little bit, and then that way it still has life in it. We're not really cooking it too much.
Yes, and unfortunately, Organic Valley is the ultra high pasteurized. Well, and I'm very familiar with Organic Valley, and they're a great company. But I wanted to tell you, I remembered with the quote that your husband said that was so great. You said that you farm like your grandfather.
Yes, we shouldn't be ashamed of it. We should be proud that we're organic farmers. And sometimes when we're around other farmers, they want to ridicule us like we went on the other side of the fence or something, or you know. And we don't. We are proud of being organic farmers. We don't fear that and shouldn't have to.
Okay, now there's something that you guys are going to get to learn about right now that Stephanie was just teaching me about today, and this is the A2 milk. And maybe some of you are already familiar with A2 milk, but we've already talked about the way the homogenization, which breaks open the fat globules and spills them into the milk, so they start turning rancid as well. That they don't do that, and they don't use really high temperatures on their milk. But there's another quality about your milk that makes it really, really special and sets it apart from other milks. And why don't you go ahead and explain all that, the A2 milk, to everyone?
Okay, most human breast milk is A2 milk. A2 milk is the most natural milk to human kindness, just because we were born drinking it, most of us. Goat milk has A2, and when we say A2, it's the protein, the amino acid chain in the milk. And cows in dairy farming can have A1 or A2 gene. We know what kind of gene it is by taking a tail hair sample, the hair follicle, and sending it to a lab, and they run the DNA. And we know if that calf or bull, girl or boy, has the A1 or A2 gene. We eliminated all the A1 genes from our herd, and now we are 100% A2. So all of our cows produce the A2 milk. A2 is the protein, and some people will say, I can drink goat milk, but they can't drink cow's milk. But it's hard to figure out what's going on there. We now know that it's the A2 gene, that their body is more easily able to digest it. So when we went organic, and I said my husband and I really started doing a lot of reading about the research that was happening in New Zealand and Australia, and one of those things was the A2 milk company that has this ability to find this gene in cows, and now for the last 15 years we have been breeding that direction. So all of our milk is A2. And we have people that are trying our milk that haven't had dairy for 20 years because it bothers their stomach or causes them digestive issues or inflammation, and they can now drink dairy again because their body can have this most perfect to humanity type.
Well, and can't hear her, Brandon.
I hear you. There's nothing I can do about any internet connections.
Oh, okay.
I can't improve that.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you could, but I guess not. Okay. Well, yeah, just the very last thing that you said cut out. So go ahead and tell us what that was. You said the A2 milk. It's actually the most perfect milk, and it's like the equivalent
of
breast
who haven't
milk.
been able to drink dairy for 20 years, and they're trying the A2 organic milk from our farm, and they're able to drink milk once again. And there is conventional A2 milk out there, and I'm hearing from other people that they love it and they're drinking that as well, and normally they wouldn't be able to digest milk.
But they don't get the other goodies that come with your milk, and they're getting other things in there. And I think, like with your milk, all the milk in there comes from your farm, where
yes,
I think people don't realize that conventional milk, they have processing plants and they go pick up all the milk and then they mix milk from different farms together, and not all farms are equivalent. Some would have better practices than others. Some may have dirtier conditions, and of course pasteurization covers up the dirty farms. But you're getting a mixture of all these different farms. I love it when I get milk that I know that all that milk came from this one farmer. That to me is another plus buying your product, Stephanie.
Yes, and then our children are 5th generation grass-based dairy farmers.
And have you ever heard of Sun-Fed Ranch?
Yes.
Yes, they have been raising cattle on grass for 150 years. Mm-hmm. And we're feeding conventional cows GMO corn and GMO cottonseed oil, which has some of the worst pesticides, because they say that's not a food, and yet they take the seeds and they make cottonseed oil out of it and feed it to farm animals and us. GMO alfalfa, all of these things come with glyphosate. And expired bakery products. I've read that they even take these expired bakery products because they're carbs, and they just grind them up with their artificial flavors and colors and mix it all in the feed. I'm I'm blown away about what they're feeding these animals, along with the drugs. And then to take this other whole completely different model where you've eliminated all of the ugly, nasty things and built on them to create something that is beautiful and pure and clean, and like you said, nutrient dense. And those of you out there that are like me and kind of getting up there where you just can't eat as many calories as you get older, Stephanie. That's just the way it is. You gain weight so easy. And, at this age, I just have to be really careful about what I'm eating. And just a little FYI, everyone, I lost another 5 pounds. Woohoo! It's called not eating, okay?
Yes.
I don't want to I work around the house. That's all the energy that I have. I've worked out for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. I'm not doing that right now. I just don't have time for it. I got work around my house to do. And so it's like, you got to realize it's calories in, calories out, everyone. I don't care when you eat your calories. It's how many calories you're eating is the bottom line. And I just do without a lot of calories. And if you're not going to have very many calories, what should you? Oh man, I thought I turned this thing off. What should you be focusing on? If you're not eating very much food, then you better make sure that food has the most nutrition that you could possibly have in the little bit that you get. And what Stephanie is offering are the foods that qualify for that. And that's why I'm trying to get across to you nutrient-dense foods, because these foods that you're buying at the fast food place, none of them, absolute zero, are nutrient-dense. Most people, I think, they may have not even eaten a nutrient-dense food in their lifetime if they're just eating this conventional mac and cheese, donuts, bread, white bread, which they spray wheat with glyphosate before they even harvest it. So it's, do you really want that for your family? Is it that hard to seek out farmers that are like the Alexandri family? You can go to eatlocalgrown.com and do a search, and you can find all kinds of local farmers that you didn't even know were there. And you can buy farm direct. Why don't you tell everyone like the kind of choices that you, besides your new caramel milk. And I keep thinking about that caramel one. I'm like, oh man, that one sounds really good. But you guys offer people opportunities to buy even large pieces of beef from you.
Yes, we on the farm we do also have grass-fed and finished beef, and they finish really well here. And then we also have pork that's outside, pastured pork, our organic eggs from pastured chicken. And we have a farm store on the farm. It operates actually on the honor system, which is really fun in our community. And then our dairy products as well.
And you say that it that it dresses out really well. Grass-fed beef is a little bit different than what some people may be used to. And I know that when I first started eating it, it was a different kind of taste to me. But now it's like I don't even notice anything different. It's now become the new norm for me. Mm-hmm. It's the grass-fed and the taste, and I don't mind it at all. You do have to be a little bit careful with some of the steaks because they are so lean. And when you look at the fat in meat like this, even like the beef in that, it's different. Because I just did a little video on Instagram, Stephanie, of 2 local chickens I got from my local farmer that lets the chickens get to peck on the dirt and run all around and eat all the bugs and everything. And he actually lets them grow to maturity where they get to be adults. These chickens you're buying in the store are like 2 months old. They're babies. You're the chicken expert. Am I saying that right?
We only do egg layers, but our chickens definitely mature out and to an older age. And I know when we've did the meat for our own use on chickens, what amazed me was how yellow the fat was, and that was from the grasses as well. And when I buy normal chicken at the store, even if it is organic, it's got the whiter meat and the whiter fat. And so It was neat to see the yellowness from the chickens eating the grass.
Okay, mine isn't like yellow like that, but it was the meat just looked so clean, and I don't know, the way the chicken looked, it looked just so pure and clean. I can't explain it, but I had to do a little video. And that chicken was like the biggest friggin' chicken. I know how to cut up a chicken. I was trying to make fried chicken. And those breasts were so gigantic that I had to make like chicken tenders because there was no way I could just like fry like one breast. It was so humongous. I was just blown away. This is like the first time I've ever experienced this. And we bought like 8 chickens, and then we kept some fresh, and then we put the others in the freezer.
And then I hope you made stock with the bones.
Absolutely. Bone broth. As a matter of fact, that's all I had today. All I've had, because when we make like the beer can chicken where it's like standing up, and then we we always save our bones, no matter what the chicken is, and then I always boil them. And people don't realize there is all this broth that you get for free when you boil your bones, and it has glucosamine, chondroitin, that you pay in supplement form, and who knows where that came from.
Right.
You know, and it's in the bone broth for your joints, everybody. I mean, it is such a, and when I drink that bone broth, Stephanie, it's just like, I don't know if you feel this way too, but, you know, it's like every sip, it's almost like your body is just going, right on. Yes.
Absolutely.
Give us some more of this. We're loving it. It's good for us. So,
I actually have some bones, making bone broth right now out of beef bones, and then I also throw a couple pig's feet in it and really get that gelatinous stock going.
Explain to people why the pig's feet has so much of the gelatin in there.
Well, you know when you make a roast and the next day you take the drippings from the roast out of the refrigerator and it's all gelatiny, that gelatin is so good for you. That's the gelatinous you're looking for. And I get from our butcher some of the pig's feet back, and they're very, very clean. They're not all dirty like you can imagine pigs being out on the farm. They're cleaned up. And I add that and let it simmer in the bone broth, and it creates a whole pan of just gelatinous broth with that when it's in the refrigerator. It's gelatin, and that is natural, just collagen, good for your joints, just good for
your
healing
skin,
and
to be young.
Exactly. And like you said, you drink it and it just, you know, you're nourishing yourself with every little drink. And I know I don't do it myself, but I have family friends that their kids drink a cup of broth every night before they go to bed. And I just think that's marvelous. And I would have been doing that if I still had little kids.
Well, the reason is pig's feet has all kinds of joints. And it's that cartilage in between the joints where the glucosamine and chondroitin are that we want to help nourish our joints. So that's one of the reasons that that it gels. And I just wanted to tell you a little thing about like when people used to come in over on the ships, you know, back in the olden times, 16, 17, 1800s, they used to take that gelatin and they would make it into these like little round things. And they would keep it in their pocket. And when it was like carrying around food with you. And they would take a little bit of that and add hot water and make it into a drink and drink it. But they would actually carry that gelatin with them, like wrapped up in a little cloth in their pocket. And I mean, I thought that was such a great story that people would carry that on the ships when they came over to make sure that they had a good nutrition source on them. And, you know, for if they got sick and things like that, it's so good for you.
Yeah, the other thing I do is every time I cut onions or garlic, I take the peels and I freeze them. And as soon as when I'm making the stock, I throw those peels because somebody wise once told me that there's nutrients in onion peels and garlic peels that you just can't find anywhere else. So I believed them, and I've done that ever since.
Thank you for getting that in at our very last minute, Stephanie. Right on, girl. You did. I tell you, Stephanie is one of our heroes. The Alexandri family, they are the heroes. They are the people that can help save our planet. Organic farming reverses climate change, everyone, through carbon sequestration in the soil. And they're doing it just by running their farm. They're reversing climate change. And we could have farmers all over our country doing that. And we could get rid of, we could create jobs and get rid of homeless people and people without money. And they could be living off the farm, and you get to eat your food there, and you're not going to starve, you know. So it's a great business. And I just want to thank you, Stephanie, for joining us today. It's been such a pleasure. I've so enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. I have too. I really appreciate it. And it was just an honor to visit with you, and keep doing the great work you're doing, Elaine.
Well, I can't wait to try some of your products. So I've got that on my bucket list now. I gotta try some of your stuff, especially that caramel milk. It's coming out next week, everyone. Check it out. and go to their website. And thanks so much for tuning in. And go to our Blue Monarch Project website, and please subscribe on YouTube to Smart Health Talk, everyone. And find us on social media. We're on Pinterest and Twitter and all that. We love to hear from you. And we're going to the City Council meeting tonight. We'd love to have you join us. We're going to speak up against the pesticide use around our schools. Thank you. Bye-bye.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
I'm